staffing and caseloads and et cetera. In addition, they completed a very strategic view of all of the points on that very comprehensive CREC report that ended in 2015. In addition, we had 2 days of classroom observations that we organized remotely by having the supervisors in the room with their devices so that the reviewers could see and hear and observe the inside of the classroom, while on a second device, they logged on to the teacher's Google Classroom or Google Meets to see what a hybrid experience looks like for our students, because that is the experience that our students are currently involved in. That worked pretty flawlessly until the first day around 10 o'clock when the district lost internet connectivity. So in my next book, I will be writing a chapter about how to do remote observations without internet. And what we did is we resorted to cell phones. So the supervisors had 2 cell phones, one plugged in, one in the classroom. That was for 1 or 2 of the observations. And then we connected again. So truly, as we always quote Paula Cluth, under, over, through, or around, we found a way. I should let everyone know that the Urban Collaborative were in classrooms and resource rooms and related service groups, everything from our pre-K at NECC through our Project Search on NCC's campus, and Lauren's last comments to me were the second day after seeing and hearing and observing that she couldn't stop smiling from a lot of what she saw. So that was really great feedback. The surveys are out. They went out on Friday in 3 languages. As of my last check, there are 234 responses. That's about 20%. 72% are English responders and 28% are Spanish responders. And we're doing outreach through the supervisors and the case managers. I know that Erica has been posting, encouraging parents and guardians to respond. And she'll be taking that as yet another data set. No findings are based on any one data collection or analysis. And the Urban Collaborative is pretty astute at analyzing the data and weaving the data together to get to commonalities of strengths and recommendations for future growth and challenges and focus areas for the future. So I look forward to her completing that and being ready for February 2nd or 3rd, whatever that Tuesday is, I should check, for her presentation of findings and recommendations ready for the board workshop. So that is, the report I bring forward. If anybody's got any questions, I'll stop and we can answer them.
I'll just comment, if you can all also share with your networks, if you just caveat that the survey is specific to parents and guardians that have a child with an IEP, just to help increase our response rate, that would be wonderful.
Hi, Yvette. It's Eric. I just have a quick question. Do we have any sense about on the survey how many we're going to have within the Spanish-speaking community or the Creole or one of the minority language groups?
So I do have that information. As I said, 28 of the responses have been in Spanish, 28%, not raw number, and 72 in English. There have been no Creole responses, but we put it out there. It follows the trends of our demographics, although there are more, our percentages in the district of Spanish speakers is larger than 28%. It's trending similarly to our demographics in special ed. So if you get a 20% response to a 30% response, Erica, you're probably the maven on response rates. I would expect it to follow the trends that we're seeing. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on that?
You may have already answered this, Yvette, but does the survey close
tomorrow?
Tomorrow, okay.
Tomorrow night. I asked her to keep it open another couple of days. I think the problem is she's under a time constraint to get the data analyzed in time for the February due date. If she finds that she wants additional information, we can always do that as a follow-up.
Yvette, is it possible to have the principals send out one more reminder? I know when I got it from the district, I was like, oh, I'll do that later. And then I forgot. And then I got it from our principal and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do this now. So it might just be.
We've asked them to do that. We've asked the teachers to do that and the
Got it. Okay.
to do that. So whatever information you got, you can assume others did.
Marissa, did you get that today? Because Yvette, I share Marissa's concerns, especially with a long weekend, that these things get lost.
So I got my principal's one last week. Before, yeah, I want to say it maybe came Thursday or Friday. I can't remember. The days are all blended together. But maybe one more push tomorrow morning from the principals. I don't know. I know that when I got the principal, when I was like, I got to do this. So.
Otherwise you'll get a demerit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can push that out. Okay. Should I go on, Erica? So I wanted to update you on our budget requests for positions. Stacy's gonna share screen and show you what is currently in the current request that the board will be finalizing their discussions about tonight.
I'm like, there we go, if I can get all the buttons to work. In our new staff budget request, we have asked for a supervisor of related services. That position's actually posted currently right now, and would look at speech and language, our OTPT. We've really grown our related service department over the last couple of years. So we've asked for that position, as well as for an additional speech and language pathologist for caseload. Part of that specifically looking at our 18 to 22 program, which we go down, we have, we're requesting another teacher for two. That's grown. So we have the number of students that are staying in Norwalk is growing. We're looking at a transition program similar to what we have at Narramac in grades 4-5 and at West Rocks in grade 6, looking at a 2-3. So an additional special education teacher and a SLIPA for that program. Growing our yes.
Stacey, for our audience, could you just define what a SLIPA is?
It's a speech and language pathology assistant. So they have a bachelor's in communication disorders. And they work under the supervision of a speech and language pathologist. ASHA has very specific guidelines on what that supervision looks like, so they work in collaboration. With our transition, because the focus is on reading and there's so much language, having a highly trained person in there to help with the reading and the work has really been a benefit to the students. And we're growing our own speech and language pathology. Speech and language pathologists, as they go through, many of them are in master's programs looking to become speech and language pathologists. So it's a great way to grow our staff as well.
That position serves as the paraprofessional to programmatic paraprofessional to the program. So it's the team of the special ed teacher and that paraprofessional who is the slipper.
For co-teaching, we're looking at growing the Kendall and Brookside programs that are currently in place. So that would be in adding a second grade co-teaching. So right now there's a kindergarten and first, so we would add a second. In Brookside, there's currently a kindergarten first and second, so we would add a third grade. So to help those cohorts move in as we have the new kindergartens move in. We're also adding an additional nest class to Fox Run, and we're looking at the possibility of a kindergarten group coming out of there's a cohort coming out of NECC. So we're looking at that as a possibility for the nest at Fox Run next year. PONUS will be moving for Nest up to 8th grade. So right now we have a 6th and a 7th grade. So we will be adding an 8th grade to have the full continuum for 6th, 7th, and 8th. With that, PONUS will also be getting an increase of a 0.5 caseload special ed teacher and a 0.5 Nest support. Right now, they have a current staff member that's a 0.5 caseload and a 0.5 Nest. With the increased numbers of both the special education students as well as the increase for the additional Nest, it'll be in 1 and 1 instead of a split and split. Does that make sense? Did I explain that well? Okay. We're also looking at, for caseload, West Rocks Middle School will be getting an additional special education teacher for caseload. For Roten, a GT teacher. And then for our 18 to 22, as I mentioned earlier, for the next steps, we've put in a request for an additional special education teacher. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Yvette, anything? Okay. I also did want to point out for the budget that we had some additional positions that were put in post 2020-21 school year that came in post the budget reconciliation. So we did add 2 occupational therapists and a CODA, certified occupational therapist assistant, after the close of the budget last year. That came from a reduction of the contract cost. So we reduced the contract for Constellation to fund those positions. We also did include 7 ABA paraprofessionals, which was a reduction of 12 general para educators. So these weren't necessarily budget impact. It was a shift in where the funds were directed to meet the needs of the students. And there was one additional para that was added through, I think, more of a clerical it wasn't necessarily an ad, it was a reclassification. So that's what we ended up. So those look somewhat new in this budget compared to last year's budget, but they were actually in place prior at the beginning of the school year. So they have been in place. So we just wanted to point that out as well.
Any questions there?
Just hoping, can someone email this out to the members of the committee just so we have it?
Certainly.
Sure. And I'll fix my typo on there.
Thank you. And Erica, shall I continue? So the last piece on the agenda, let me just get out of this. I want to share screen. Okay, can everybody see the save the date? So I wanted to announce the third annual transition fair for our students planning and their families planning for adult living. We strongly encourage anyone in middle school and older to attend. This year we'll be doing the fair virtually, remotely because of COVID. You may recall in years past really inspirational keynotes. We had David Flink from Eye to Eye and the fabulous Stephen Shore, who's just an inspirational speaker. This year promises to be the best yet. And we are having Laderick Horn, who is just amazing. If you have not heard Derek's work, please go on his website or his YouTube channel. He's a young man, now a grown man, diagnosed with learning disabilities in the 3rd grade, and talks about that struggle. And now he is a dynamic spoken word poet and author, and he's just inspiring. So I'm really hoping that our students will be there to hear his words. And he's an international speaker. He's pretty profound. In addition, we'll have breakout sessions. The colleges will be there with those colleges that have particularly strong support programs for kids with disabilities, as well as the adult agencies. And the sooner, we encourage families, the sooner they begin this discussion and thought process along with their middle school and high school age students, the more productive it is as time goes by. So, I encourage everyone to participate in that. And again, we are really thankful to partner with NSPED PAC and CPAC in bringing this on. I think Laderick is so powerful that if we open it up to neighboring school districts, that it would be great for them to hear the message as well. So we'll talk to NSPED PAC about their desire to do that tomorrow. So questions about that?
I'm sorry, did you say, is that going to be recorded and on the YouTube?
We have to check with Laderick about his copyright requirements. We'll look at contract and have that discussion with him. It would be my request, but lots of these.
I hope so.
I will check. The rest will be recorded for sure, and
Right.
we will ask that very direct question with Laderick.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, Erica, I'd like to take just a moment to address the committee personally.
We did have the NSPED PAC update. Amy is not on, but Marissa is. And Marissa, I know you have a meeting tomorrow, so I'm not sure if there's a more recent update or if we can just talk about tomorrow's session on the next call.
I don't have much of an update. I do know that we have broken down into 2 separate committees focusing on communication and IEP compliance. So I know that that will be shared out at tomorrow's meeting. But besides that, much of an update. That obviously we would love to help in any way we can with the transition there. So definitely keep us looped into that. And I think that's all I have right now.
Okay, so back to you, Yvette.
Thank you. So on a personal note, as many of you know, and you've heard of my intention to retire at the end of the year. My 2-year commitment after 4 years seems to be coming to a graceful end. I do want to say that the past 4 years over my tenure has been a labor of love. And we have gone from a department that most would agree was in disarray with fiscal overspending, very poor communication with our parents, and a lack of effective supports and services for our students with disabilities. I'm sure that at the end of the current SPED review, the documentation of the strong foundation and the strong organizational structure and the full continuum of services that have been built will be fully documented. The collaboration with the outstanding leadership team throughout the department, I feel leave us in a healthy place and ready to start the next phase of implementation, focusing on quality service delivery and full implementation with fidelity and integration of services across departments. I really look forward to watching the progress and the discussions moving from narrow discussions of compliance to the very important discussions of quality and high quality access and achievement. I think that the specialized services staff, I know, is ready to assume competence for all of our learners, especially for those whose voices we must vocalize. In particular, the collaboration with NSPED PAC has to be recognized. I'm very, very grateful. I remember those first couple of meetings when we couldn't sit in a room together. Those of you that were there at those early meetings may recall that, to a point where there is collaboration and ability to listen to each other, even in those difficult conversations. And I'm really indebted to the parents for that. Dr. A, when he convinced me to come to Norwalk, said one of my deliverables would be to build a succession plan so that Norwalk would not need to go through another decade of changes in leadership that I had come in and that I had inherited. That was unusual thing to be thinking about. You know, I've done this for over 4 decades and I've never quite thought about that. But he made me think about that, and he was very wise in that. And I know that Stacy has been a great thought partner, and I know that she will continue much of the leadership as the next phase of work transitions. So the focus on equity and implementation of a vision of access and opportunity is very, very exciting. It's been great for me to participate in that work this year with Dr. Estrella, and I will be watching the continued progress. So I thank you.
Thank you, Yvette. And what a way to go out. I mean, the supports that your entire department has provided to our children in this moment in time. You know, I've said this before, that our neighbors have all commented on the priority that Norwalk Public Schools has put on our SPED children, allowing them to be in person from kindergarten through high school and access their education in a way that resonates with them and provides routine. And you know, I want to thank you for having a seat at the table and advocating for that.
Thank you, Erica. I appreciate that.
I want to echo that. You know, when you came in, we were in such turmoil and our budget was out of control. And now we have a theory of action whereby we can ensure that we're providing services and identifying children, hello, and still be faithful stewards of our resources, which I think, it's a great pleasure to see the slides in our budget document with regards to the programs you've built up and how that's alleviated our need for out of district placement, which of course is great for our families too, because they want to be here in Norwalk if the services can support their children to do so and be included in their own community. So thank you for that work to help stabilize us and create structures.
Thank you, Barbara. And with that, Madam Chair.
Can I just share one thing, Yvette? Sorry. I just wanted to thank you. I remember first meeting you when maybe 2 or 3 weeks when you first came on board over at NECC, myself and a few of the other community organizations that work so closely with NPS. And you were just like, these are our partners. These are the groups of folks that are going to help move this work forward, especially from a mental behavioral community support perspective. And so really seeing what you've been able to do to kind of involve the organizations has been really, really remarkable. And it's been a great privilege working with you and really supporting the schools, the educators, and most importantly, the children. So thank you. It's a great foundation moving forward. Great foundation moving forward, Yvette.
Back at you. And of course, the GT work and the counseling redesign, adding that to my portfolio has really been really, really exciting for me. And one of the things that, in addition to the very, very hard work of specialized learning, but to be able to do that additional work has been just remarkable for me. Always learning, Barbara, right? Always learning. So
Okay.
thank you, Erica. That ends my report.
All right. For this team, Donaldo will be joining us in a future session. This team will still stay intact as a committee. We will see through this audit and the plans coming out of the audit. So she will be working hand in hand with Yvette on that transition with us through Yvette's departure at the end of the fiscal year.
I will be here.
All right. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Oh, you know what, Barbara? We didn't do the minutes. Did you have any changes?
I did not.
Okay.
So
cool.
I moved the minutes.
Okay, great. So we will approve the minutes and we will call it an evening. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.